All right, Week 12, NFL Power Rankings. Appreciate all you guys who tune in. It's a lot of fun for me to do this. I feel like I'm one of the better sources for Power Rankings. I feel like it's something I really have a niche in. You can call me your Power Ranking Daddy if you want to. You don't have to, but I appreciate you tuning in either way. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I appreciate that. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, if you like what you see, I appreciate that as well. My rankings are a little bit differently for those who don't know, for those who are tuning in for the first time. I always do 7 from the AFC, 7 from the NFC, so that there's 14 teams that will actually be playoff teams. Now, that always leads to someone saying, number 14 shouldn't be so-so. I agree with you, because number 14 shouldn't be, but there's also some teams that shouldn't make the playoffs that shouldn't. That shouldn't. Either way, like the Packers last year, worst record in football that made the playoffs. There were other deserving teams above them. But the AFC and the NFC are leveling out more. Earlier this year, the NFC had 10 teams above 500, and the AFC only had 5 or 6. Now, each conference has 7 teams above 500, so it is leveling out. I think there's a little more dominance at the top of the AFC, but a little bit more balance in the NFC. So let's see how that all pans out. We'll make me a little bit smaller. We'll get into the rankings, and away we go. Each week, I always like to show you guys where things stand. As I mentioned, you can just kind of take a brief look at that if you want. But if you look over there on the left, Denver 6-5 is the last team with the winning record over there, and Washington 7-4 is the last team with the winning record. Then you get the 500 teams. And you look at 8, 9, and 10. That division, the NFC West, you see up top Arizona 6-4. They put the division leaders 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what they always do for the playoffs. 6-4, and then right behind them, 8, 9, and 10, right on the bubble of the playoffs. Rams 5-5, Seattle 5-5, San Francisco 5-5, and they're beating each other up. Seattle just beat San Francisco this last week. That's going to be a fun division to watch as it comes down to the wire. Unlike the NFC South, you got Atlanta 6-5, and then you got the Buccos on a 4-game losing streak, but still a positive point differential. And then at the bottom of the division, New Orleans trying to surge, Carolina. Anyways, it's going to be fun as we head into the end of the season. It's going to start to clear itself up. It's fun to watch this point of the year. I always do my highest riser, my farthest faller. You get a little spoiler there with the Niners. The Broncos looking good, and away we go. I'm not going to uncover myself from these. I always do that each week, but the Raiders are number 32 again this week. The Raiders lost to Miami this week, 34-19. I wouldn't expect anything different than that the rest of the year for a team that can't find any consistency on offense, nor do they have much of a future lined out there. The Broncos come to Vegas this week for the Raiders' next matchup. The Giants stay pat at 31, decided to move on from Danny Dimes during their bye week and move forward with Tommy DeVito. I don't think it will matter, but it definitely can't hurt, right? We'll find out this week as they face the Buccaneers, who have their own 4-game losing streak. The Jaguars, I'm trying not to be too hard on the Jaguars after they lost to the Lions 52-6, because every team's going to lose to the Lions, but come on, that was bad. The Jaguars get a bye this week to try to recover, but they may need to tear it down to the studs after what you're seeing from them. The Titans move up a spot just because the Jaguars went down. The rest of this season should probably be devoted to seeing if Will Levis has it in him to be a starting quarterback for them. They'll have a tough week this week against the Texans, though, to try to figure that out. 28, I've got the Browns. They look back to being the Browns after a spurt of hope. They do raise one spot because of the Jaguars as well, but I wouldn't expect miracles out of the Browns, especially as they face a surging Steelers team this week. The Panthers' winning streak is still alive because they were on a bye this week. Now they have to face the Kansas City Chiefs, who lost their first game of the year. I'm going to be a betting man and say that winning streak is coming to an end, but the Panthers are looking better. We'll see how they surge out the rest of the year. Patriots, I've got a sneaky feeling the Patriots actually have some potential. Not saying they're good, but they are a lot more fun to watch. We'll see as they go to Miami this week. It should be a fun matchup there. The Jets have fired yet another scapegoat, this time in GM Joe Douglas. Somehow Aaron Rodgers has a job, but I wouldn't expect him to be back in 2025. Tough loss to the Colts in Week 11, 28-27. Now they get a bye week to try to get things straight. With the Cowboys getting taken behind the woodshed by the Texans last night, that pretty much ended their 2024 season. If you're a Cowboys fan, do yourself a favor and don't listen to Jerry Jones right now. Week 12, they face the Commanders. The first of our 4-win teams, those sitting on the verge of the playoffs, good teams but severely underperforming. This will be your Saints, Bengals, Bears, Dolphins type of teams. The Saints did get a solid win against the Browns. They look resurgent. Now they get a bye week to try to work up a plan before they face the Rams, who come into town in Week 13. All right, the Bengals lose yet another close one, this time at the hands of the Chargers 34-27. The offense is clearly there, but the defense is a shell of its former self to win to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Another team with the bye this week before they have to play the Steelers with their season literally on the line in Week 13. Had to pause it for just a second with the sound and everything else because now my beloved Bears are coming up. And let's just say for a second here that the Packers didn't cheat, that they didn't launch off of the snapper, off of the kicking team, and absolutely steal that game from the Bears. This whole narrative would be completely different. But as it stands, the Bears are 4-6, on the verge of missing the playoffs again, on the verge of disappointment. The Bears just might be the most unlucky team in football this year after what happened with the Commanders and the Hail Mary, and now not getting the call that they had called against them just a couple weeks ago against the Cardinals. It's not justice, and the league needs to get that fixed. They need to get it straight. Lost that game. The Packers fans get 7 more weeks of gloating while the Bears take one of the farthest falls in my ranking this week, losing to the pitiful Packers who have no business being a playoff team. They drop down the rankings yet 4 more spots to 21. A win against the Vikings this week is a must-win for a team trying to survive. I wouldn't get your hopes up, Bears fans, though, but they do have some things to be optimistic about. The Dolphins look completely different with Tua under center. The solid 34-19 win over the Raiders is what they needed to get confident again. Now they face a Patriots team that shows flashes of growth. This should be a fun divisional matchup this week. The Colts with a huge win as underdogs against the Jets. If they lost that game, the season would probably be over, but Anthony Richardson came out in his best game yet. I'd like to rank them higher, but I'll wait to see how they do against the Lions first this week. The Buccos have lost 4 straight. Now they need to get healthy quickly if they want to compete. The division's still up for reach. They still have a shot. Hopefully coming off a bye will help them get in the win column. They face the Giants this week, so they have a good shot. The Niners fell short of expectations against the Seahawks and proved I overhyped them way too much. With the 1-3 divisional record and a tie for last in the division, I had no choice but to drop them out of the playoffs, which is why they're the biggest faller this week. Behind everyone in the NFC West, the Niners head to Green Bay to get back on track this week, and that should be an easy win for them. Another NFC West team holding up the bubble teams on the verge of the playoff. Huge win against the Niners this week for the Seahawks. Let me pause this real quick so we don't go too far. Up 3 spots. Win this week against the Cardinals would make them the playoff team in the division, top of the NFC from the NFC West. From the NFC West. But you see right ahead of them is the Rams. All of the NFC West teams should probably be ranked higher, as I said. You can only put 14 in the top 14. But only so many teams can make the playoff rankings. The Rams beat the Patriots last week, move up in my rankings, and now get a tough task of taking on the Eagles for Sunday Night Football this week. All right, so now we move into the top 14, 7 from the AFC, 7 from the NFC, and consider me unimpressed that the Falcons are in my playoff rankings. But each division has to have a champion. The NFC South has regressed yet again after starting the season, tricking us into thinking they might be good. I don't even think the Falcons will win their division right now, but as an unhealthy Buccaneers team is trying to get healthy, they're also on their own losing streak, and it's going to be tough for them to be able to surpass them while they're down, having lost 4 in a row. Expect this 14th spot to be held down by the NFC South leader the rest of the year. They are on a bye this week. They can sit in timeout and think about what they've done. As I mentioned, the Cardinals have made it into the playoff rankings now. In the tightest division in football, the Cardinals have squeaked ahead to a 1-game lead. First place to 4th place is also just a 1-game lead, as I showed. The Cardinals will get tested this week, though, as they come off a bye and have to head to Seattle to face the Seahawks, coming off of a huge victory they had over the Niners. Fun division. The Cardinals have won 4 in a row and won't want to give up their winning streak or the division lead. This is one of my must-watch games this week. Everyone continues to make excuses for Jaden Daniels, even though teams are starting to figure him out. The Commanders had the biggest overhaul this offseason and should be a lock to make the playoffs still, despite a midseason slump. Losing to the Eagles, though, is nothing to hang your head over. 26-18. The Eagles are looking really good. A loss to the Cowboys this week, though, that would be a shock. They'll take the Cowboys on at home this week and should be an easy rebound game. That struggling Cowboys defense and Dak out for the year. The Texans stopped struggling in Week 11 by establishing who the true Texas team is by throttling the Cowboys 34-10 on Monday Night Football. With Nico Collins back, I can see the Texans getting over their mini slump and continuing to climb the rankings. This week, they get to host a division foe when the Titans come to town. All right, the Broncos, as I said, is one of my biggest risers this week. Bo Nix is absolutely the real deal. Those who watch my channel know I took a lot of scrutiny when I said he was a top 3 quarterback coming into this draft. Well, nah. Bo Nix and the Broncos put up an offensive performance that left little doubt that their offense can assist the defense and be a well-rounded team. The Broncos head to Vegas this week to take on their division rival Raiders in Week 12. All right, I hate to even do this one. Sometimes rankings are about teams projected to make the playoffs, and the Packers' odds of making the playoffs are really good, even though they're guaranteed to be a first-round exit. Kills me to rank the Packers this high when they just flat-out continue to get lucky or cheat to win. How teams can't anticipate a Hail Mary either. When Jordan Love throws off his back foot and he throws Hail Marys up, and teams should be able to pick him off. Already leading the lead in interceptions, but he should be picked off more. Nonetheless, the Packers did upset the Bears. To continue to climb the rankings, the Packers will fall a little this week as they host and lose to the struggling Niners. The Ravens can absolutely be a top 4 team in the league until this last week. I thought they were going to compete for a chance at the Super Bowl. The AFC is absolutely loaded up top, though, and it's going to be tough. A few missed opportunities on offense, a few missed field goals. The Ravens found themselves on the wrong end of an 18-16 loss. Now they have a huge matchup this week against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. And don't let that Bengals record deceive you. That win by the Chargers was a quality win. 34-27 the final tally, and Jim Harbaugh said the Chargers have an attitude about them. I would agree. This team is building confidence. They appear to be much different. I expect them to continue to exceed expectations. That will be a fun matchup on Monday night with 7 versus 8, Chargers versus Ravens. All right, the Vikings. I don't want to put the Vikings this high because they don't pass the eye test to me at number 6. They remind me of that 2022 Vikings team who won 13 games and then had a first round exit in the wild card. This is the same type of team with Sam Darnold struggling a little bit, showing why he never became a franchise quarterback. This team could go up. This team could go down. They face the Bears this week. That should be a cakewalk, right? We'll see. All right, the Eagles, winners of 6 in a row now. That tally continues to rise. The divisional games this week did not disappoint as the Eagles took firm control back of the NFC East by beating the Commanders 26-18. Saquon Barkley has been so impactful to this team that the fans after the game were chanting thank you to the Giants after the game. If not for the Eagles, the Lions wouldn't have anyone to worry about in the NFC. The Eagles are on the road in Sunday Night Football this week against the Rams. All right, the Steelers are up another spot to the top line here as even on a day where their offense made a few mistakes, on a day where the Steelers were kept out of the end zone, the Steelers defense proved it was everything dominant it needs to be to win the closest of games. Yes, the Ravens made their mistakes, as I said, but the Steelers still won. They have firm control of the division. This week, they draw the short week and play in Cleveland on Thursday Night Football. All right, the Chiefs drop a spot to number 3 after losing to the Bills 30-21 in Week 11. The Chiefs have been flirting with losing for several weeks now, and it seemed inevitable that the perfect season was coming to a close. Pat Mahomes said they'll use this as fuel moving forward. I don't know if they'll need that fuel this week as they face the Panthers. Maybe they should save some of that fuel up, but they should have a rebound game this week. The Bills, even down multiple big players, Josh Allen was able to put the Bills on his back, literally and figuratively, and carry them to the end zone. The front-runner MVP candidate, in my opinion, shows he's willing to do whatever it takes to win his team and will them to a victory, then showed the humble leader mentality after the game and taking it one game at a time. Make no mistake, the 31-20 victory over the Chiefs was huge for the Bills moving forward. The Bills are on a bye for Week 12. All right, the Lions are my number 1 team again. Another absolutely dominant win on Sunday that likely puts one of the final daggers in Doug Peterson's career in Jacksonville. The Lions won 52-6, 52-6 over the Jaguars. In fact, the Lions' point differential is so big for the entire season, it's double every other team's but one and quadruples 70% of the league's point differential. They are absolutely dominant this year. The lone setback from this game, the Lions, along with Aiden Hutchinson now, did suffer defensive injury to linebacker Alex Anzalone, who broke his forearm and will likely be out until the playoffs begin. They'll need him when the playoffs come back. They head on the road this week to face the Colts, who just got their own big win, so that's going to be a fun one. All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make me bigger again. I do these every week, so new videos out each Tuesday for Power Rankings, each Wednesday for weekly predictions. Excuse me. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. I just want to say that I appreciate you, those who make this channel possible for me. I want to continue to grow it. I want to make it something, so I appreciate you tuning in. I feel like I have some pretty good tapes, so if you don't mind, like it, subscribe, share it with some of your friends. I'd like to continue to grow this thing, and I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. So good luck to your teams, and until next week, we will see you then.